Coming up on EIV News at 6, the government is giving out a new tax break this year. Find out why most Americans aren't putting their extra money back into the economy.
Plus, as Japan struggles to get back on its feet, EIV reporter Katie Kenny will tell you why even the smallest donation can make a big difference.
Now, from Emerson's leading news team, with the latest in world news and our nation's top stories, EIV News at 6.
Hello and welcome to another edition of EIV News at 6. I'm Greg Baroud.
And filling in for Wynn Harrison tonight, I'm Jacqueline Kangro. Here are tonight's top stories.
As Japan scrambles to contain their nuclear fallout, authorities say things may be worse than they originally feared. Scientists have discovered radiation levels more than 3,000 times the normal level in the ocean water near the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Japan's Nuclear Safety Agency says there is, quote, no immediate threat to local fisheries, and the government has restricted fishing off the coast. However, these radiation levels are the highest they've been since the March 11th earthquake. Officials are unsure what long-term effects the radiation will have on the environment. Meanwhile, recent studies show the world experienced more disasters in 2010 than it has in nearly 3 decades. Authorities say financial losses from natural and man-made disasters this year have reached about $218 billion. 2011 has already gotten off to a bad start. Parts of Thailand are now underwater after nearly a week of heavy rain, and authorities estimate the recent earthquake and tsunami in Japan have caused more than $300 billion in damages. Meanwhile, ongoing violence in Libya has prompted world leaders to intervene. The city of Misrata faced an onslaught of tanks from Muammar Gaddafi's forces this week, and the Libyan leader continues to show no signs of ending the carnage. Gaddafi's troops have strengthened their assault, causing the rebels to retreat into, quote, a tactical withdrawal. This week, representatives from over 40 nations met in London to discuss the UN-sanctioned no-fly zone and increased NATO involvement.
I think the crucial thing is to end the violence, to stop the fighting. Then what happens to Colonel Gaddafi is up to him and up to the people of Libya. But it's very hard to see a viable future for Libya with Colonel Gaddafi still in power. But what we are working for militarily is the implementation of the UN resolution. No more and no less than that.
While some foreign officials are opposed to this resolution, many world leaders would like to see a ceasefire in the near future.
Prices are finally on their way back down. Prices are now sitting under $105 a barrel, down 20 cents from Friday. Airstrikes in Libya have pushed back Muammar Gaddafi's forces, allowing rebels to retake control of oil refineries in 2 port cities. Rebels said they would resume exporting about 1.6 million barrels of crude oil per day. The current situation in Japan has decreased demand for oil, also helping to push down prices. And while oil prices are dropping, experts say consumers are cutting back. Americans are expected to receive an extra $1,000 or $2,000 from Social Security tax cuts this year, which are intended to stimulate the economy. High gas prices have already drained half of that. Unfortunately, paying more for gas doesn't help the economy. Most of the money goes overseas and leaves consumers spending less on goods and services that drive economic growth. Although Americans are spending more, they are not giving the economy the boost it needs. And the nuclear scare isn't Japan's only problem right now. The nation is also struggling to rebuild its economy. Racking up an estimated $300 billion in damages, the earthquake in Japan is one of the world's most expensive disasters ever. The Japanese government is shifting its focus towards economic relief after a $1 trillion fiscal budget was passed on Tuesday. The upper house of Japan's government refuses to support this bill, and without backing from the opposition, nearly half the budget will not be funded.
Seems like Japan could use all the help it can get right now.
And EIV's reporter Katie Kenny reports on how Boston can get involved.
Every donation, honestly, makes a big difference.
The earthquake and tsunami in Japan happened 3 weeks ago, but the real storm is still gathering. Here in Boston, the American Red Cross is mobilizing efforts to bring relief to the Japanese people.
The devastation is about 375-mile swath of land. And to put it locally for the viewers here, that's like Portland, Maine, all the way to New York City.
The Japanese Church of Boston in Somerville is one of the smaller organizations with a direct link to Japan. Its pastor, Ken Millhouse, has found alternative ways to help the victims.
The nice thing about Crash is there's also the opportunity. They see this as a long-term kind of thing, so it's not right now, but it's down the road, and they know that there's going to be a lot of rebuilding necessary in the next year or two, and so they're not ready at this point, but eventually they're going to want teams of volunteers to come to Japan.
Of the $85 million already sent by Americans, $3.5 is from $10 text messages. It's as simple as texting 90999.
To help the people who are homeless, almost 500,000 people are homeless, with basic necessities of life, food, shelter, and clothing. So literally the money is going to help the Japanese Red Cross facilitate the day-to-day relief.
Right now, the fatalities are up to 20,000, which could increase with the high number of people missing. Like Hurricane Katrina here, the recovery will take years. For EIV News, I'm Katie Kenny, reporting in Boston.
And good evening, I'm Mick Ciccone with your EIV weather forecast. This April Fool's Day may be one to remember, and it probably won't be because of all your clever pranks. Meteorologists predict a major northeast storm late tonight and into tomorrow. The storm will develop Thursday night off the Carolinas and intensify tomorrow near the Jersey and southern New England coasts. Now in other areas of the country, look for rain and low 50s in Seattle for Friday. Also expect a one-day warm spell in LA with sunshine and high temperature in the 70s. And a mini heat wave in Dallas, 80 tomorrow with temperatures this weekend making it to 90 degrees. Not much to talk about in Denver, sunny and 69, while Chicago will see rain and sleet with a temp in the mid-40s. Watch for an isolated thunderstorm in Miami with a high temperature of 84 degrees. Not too much to take. This is your EIV weather forecast. I'm Mick Ciccone. Now back to you, Greg and Jackie.
Still ahead on EIV News, we'll tell you how the nuclear aftermath in Japan is affecting the United States.
I'll tell you why stadiums all across the country, just like Gillette Stadium, may be out of some serious revenue with the NFL lockout, right here on EIV News.
Welcome back. I'm Caitlin Desjardins with your EIV Sports Update. The trial against Barry Bonds for steroid use is heating up. New information emerged in a recent court hearing that in 2000, Bonds told his mistress he had an elbow injury because of his steroid use. The mistress and a business partner of Bonds both revealed to the jury that he became more aggressive during that time. Bonds trainer Greg Anderson, who is in jail for refusing to testify, is said to have provided Bonds with the drugs. And the NFL draft is coming up fast, and teams have to deal with the lockout and are also focusing on which college recruits they want. If a labor agreement comes out before the draft, it might change team strategies. Player bonuses for top picks may go down, making it easier for some teams to get who they want. Now, I definitely think one team who needs to take advantage of this year's draft is Carolina Panthers. Picking up a good first-round pick could either give them a great season or really hurt them for future years to come. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots will be picking 28th in this year's draft. EIV's Ross Littman was at Gillette Stadium this week to tell us how much both the New England and the NFL stand to lose if the lockout continues.
Gillette Stadium is home to concerts, entertainment, New England Revolution matches, and even an entire sports complex in Patriot Place. But it's New England Patriots football that Gillette Stadium truly represents. However, the NFL's lockout may prevent the Patriots from taking the field this upcoming season. With the Players Association now disbanded, players are taking action by filing injunctions against the league. Patriots owner Bob Kraft has remained optimistic that the league can recover, saying, "Going into these union negotiations, I was very optimistic that an agreement could be reached before the end of December if both sides were committed to these negotiations." Meanwhile, December has passed, and the league and its former players are still at a standstill. Both sides have met 4 times in the past 6 months, and no progress has been made. While the injunction was made by several players, each one will be heard individually in court. The trial for the injunction is set to go to court this Monday, April 4th. And with many players in on the injunction, they decided to go alphabetically. The first name on the list, Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. Reporting from Gillette Stadium, I'm Ross Littman, EIV News.
Radiation from Japan has now reached the United States. Since the tsunami struck the devastated nation, Japan's melted nuclear reactors have released radioactive material into the atmosphere. Power plant operators say the first radioactive fallout has now appeared across the eastern seaboard. However, health officials say the amounts detected so far pose no public risks. They say the general public is exposed to significantly more radiation simply by flying aboard an airplane. And a New York nuclear power plant is making headlines this week. Authorities say they're considering closing down the Indian Point nuclear power plant north of New York City. This could affect the wallets of New Yorkers. According to local officials, the factory's closing would hike monthly utility bills by 6% or $65 a year. The plant generates about 30% of the region's energy. If the nuclear power plant does close, New York would lose the lost energy with coal and natural gas. Meanwhile, the threat of a government shutdown is again approaching. Congress will soon discuss plans for federal funding throughout the remainder of the fiscal year. Talks between President Obama, House Speaker John Boehner, and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid are set to begin again shortly. They hope to create a plan before temporary funding expires April 8th. Republicans approved $61 billion in cuts last month. If a resolution is not reached soon, the government will experience its first shutdown in nearly 2 decades. In other news, Republican candidates for the 2012 presidential race are already working to gain momentum. Saturday in Iowa, notable Republicans such as Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich spoke against President Obama's economic policies. Representative Michelle Bachmann, however, was the most enthusiastic speaker, posing questions to the audience such as, "Are you in for 2012 and are we going to take our country back?" Governor Barbour says the secret to a good 2012 campaign is to make proposals drastically different than the Obama administration's.
And it seems that Superman has a new leading lady.
For more on that, let's send it over to our own Man of Steel, Bryce Fallon.
Thanks, Jacqueline and Greg. I'm Bryce Fallon with your latest in culture news. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Amy Adams. The 3-time Oscar nominee was just announced as the new Lois Lane in the upcoming Superman reboot, Superman, Man of Steel. She joins British actor Henry Cavill as Superman in the new modern adaptation. After conducting a massive search, director Zack Snyder said Adams is perfect for the role. With her recently awesome turn in The Fighter, Adams certainly ups the ante as far as the cast goes. Myself and other prominent national critics can only hope this film turns out a little more cohesive than Snyder's most recent film, Sucker Punch. And it's Black Swan versus White Swan. Natalie Portman's dancing double from Black Swan is claiming she did more dancing in the movie than the Oscar winner. Sarah Lane says that she did 85% of the dancing, while Portman's extreme training and involvement was just media hype. Producers of the movie refuted these rumors, as well as Portman's fiancé, Benjamin Millepied, who is the film's choreographer. Director Darren Aronofsky has also released a statement defending the actress, saying she did indeed do the majority of the dancing. Consider that a swan smackdown. And meanwhile, it looks like Beyonce is not so crazy in love with her management anymore. Monday, Beyonce announced she's parting ways with her manager, who also happens to be her father, Matthew Knowles. The two have worked in tandem since Beyonce has started with Destiny's Child in the late 1990s. While Matthew has helped Beyonce to build up her acting, music, and sales empire, she has decided to part with him on a business level, saying that is no way personal. Even so, I still think it's going to make Friday night dinners at the Knowles house a little bit awkward. And that's all I've got for you in this week's Culture News. Now back to Greg and Jacqueline.
Thanks, Bryce. That's all we have for you for tonight. But don't forget, you can find us online at EIVnews.com.
Thanks for watching EIV News. Enjoy your weekend.
This has been a presentation of EIV News and Emerson Independent Video. For more, visit us online at EIVnews.com.